So hi everyone, thank you for joining us for the Amazon Honeycode introduction workshop. We are really excited for this. We've been planning it since last summer, and we're finally doing it. So I'm actually really excited about it. And I think this is a really interesting topic. So we're so glad that you joined us on a Saturday afternoon. Um, and I know it's hard in Texas where you might not have power and water and things like that, but thank you so much for joining us. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Basically, some logistics with the workshop. It will be about an hour long, and then we'll have a lot of things. We have a lot of things planned out, and we're going to talk about the agenda pretty soon. But we will be recording this workshop, and we might put it in our ACM YouTube account just so that everyone has access to it. And we will also be taking any questions you have at the end of the workshop. Next, I'm gonna pass it on to Rakshita.
Hey, thank you, Saksha. Yeah, so we'll now go over the agenda for the day. We'll start off with introductions where we as presenters are going to introduce ourselves, followed with a brief introduction to low-code and no-code solutions, which is basically blowing up the internet right now, followed by an introduction to Amazon Honeycode, which is AWS's offering in the low-code, no-code space. And we'll also go over some of the use cases where this might be useful. We'll follow that with a hands-on demo on using Amazon Honeycode that Saksha will take you through, followed by a brief introduction and a demo on the app that won the Amazon Honeycode Hackathon, which is conducted in November, December. Yeah, so then post that, we'll open it up for any questions you all might have. So let's start off with introduction. Let me start off by introducing myself. Hi everyone, I'm Rakshita Kalgur. I am a software engineer at VMware. I recently graduated from University of Virginia, where I finished my master's in computer science. And for the last year, I've also been serving as the AWS Educate student ambassador to University of Virginia. Cloud computing and distributed computing are my areas of expertise. I'm also an AWS certified cloud practitioner. And all in all, I'm very excited to be here and introduce this Amazon Honeycode solution to all of you. So yeah, next up is Solomon. Oh, sorry, Sakshan.
Thank you, Rakshita. Hi everyone, I'm Saksham. I am pursuing a bachelor's in CS at UTD. I'm also one of the AWS Educate student ambassadors for UTD. So I've been, like Rakshita, I've been part of the team for about a year now. I also have experience working with AWS at UTD. So I used to work as a student cloud engineer and worked with a lot of AWS services. I'm also pretty familiar with AWS and what it has to offer. So I'm now going to pass it to Solomon.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Solomon Himmelblum. I'm a computer science student at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I'm also an AWS Educate student ambassador, and this program has been pretty interesting since the beginning of last year to really learn more about AWS services, cloud computing, and I look forward to talking with you all and answering some questions either about AWS services or Amazon Honeycode for today. So thanks so much for joining us. So let's first start out. I guess in the chat, if you could put, if any of you have used low-code, no-code solutions, if you have any familiar with AWS, or if you've used some of these solutions like Amazon Honeycode, feel free to put that in the chat. But we're first going to start out, well, why even use low-code and no-code solutions? Next slide, please. So a brief introduction, low-code, no-code. As you heard, these products are really starting to take off, at least in the last couple months, last couple of years, really just because the low barrier to entry. So for example, low-code solutions, you might still need technical knowledge and skilled developers to help create these tools and services, but really the benefit comes in with flexible customization and really having services that you can extend to a wider audience. And the main difference between low code and no code, obviously, the programming and technical experience that you might need, but for no code, as what we're going to be going over with Amazon Honeycode, is that there's really less training, less barrier to entry, less technical debt, and technical debt as in stuff that you have to carry on and support throughout. And then finally, there's also great pre-built templates, as well as it really goes and it supports a wider audience than just low-code solutions. And of course, all skill levels are welcome, and it really becomes an interesting area to lower the barrier of entry. And so that's the main difference between low-code and no-code. Next slide, please. So you may have heard of some of these services before, such as Salesforce and Microsoft's Power Apps, as well as Google's updated app sheet. But really, all of these services have unique value propositions, different pricing points, as well as different use cases. So if you could press to the next button. And today we're talking about Amazon Honeycode and why maybe Honeycode will be unique to the low and no code solutions as a no code solution. Next slide, please. So we're first going to talk, so I guess why even use Amazon Honeycode? Well, of course, it's no code, but it's also mobile first, meaning that creating apps and services are really custom built for your mobile device. Most of the services that you saw on the previous slide, maybe they'll have some mobile offerings, but they'll be mostly built for desktop applications. So Amazon Honeycode really is supporting mobile devices, as well as data syncing in real time, meaning that you're updating one thing on a website, one thing from your web app, it'll instantly be deployed and updated in real time to your mobile device. And finally, two other benefits of it, customized views and built for specific needs, meaning that, as you'll see in our demo later today, we really hope to support the individual use cases for this application, whether you're a business, you're a startup, you're a student, you just want to play around with some of these low and no code solutions. It really has specific needs for everyone, and that can be shown throughout some of our templates as well. Next slide, please. And some general use cases for Amazon Honeycode. It's still in beta right now. It got released as a public beta, I think, last summer. And the main value proposition that they're trying to show is a spreadsheet and data-based focused tool. So you might have used services like Microsoft Excel in the past. Well, imagine maybe Microsoft Excel, but kind of paired with like a Google Sheets style interface where it's shareable with other people, but also everything is easily exportable to applications and really ready to go when you need to drop in automation triggers, custom workflows, and really add existing data sources that you might have throughout your company, your startup, as a student, throughout your different organizations. So there's a wide variety of use cases. This is just a couple that I've mentioned today, but of course you can go on to their website as well. It's honeycode.aws and see their full list of features and services on why this low and no code solution might be on par or even better than some of what we have currently in the market. Next slide, please. And I think the real value proposition and the real reason why maybe you should be thinking about Honeycode is really some of the templates and the community that's around it. I found it as somebody that's starting out with AWS services and cloud computing. The learning curve can definitely be pretty difficult, but with Honeycode and some of these other offerings from Amazon Web Services, they really are trying to bring down the barrier to entry, and whether that's coming through training or community building or different events. And it even comes down to something like project templates and the ability to create things on the fly, rapidly prototype, rapidly edit different products, services, and everything alike. There's just so many great templates and so many great starting points that you can really see, as we'll see in our demo today, that there's different ways that people might use some of these low and no code services across the board. And we'll just highlight a couple today. So next slide, please. And so for pricing, it's free for up to 2,500 rows per workbook, and it scales up from there, similar to other applications in the market. And the way that I think about the pricing is, think about like maybe the last time you used a Microsoft Excel document that had more than 2,500 rows. Like that's roughly what you would need for just starting out. And of course, you can, these Plus and Pro plans, they can be easily linked with AWS and the management console that you have there. So everyone's welcome to join as this basic plan, and we hope to show you like why and some of the values of this service as well. So I think next slide, please, and we'll pass it over to Saksham.
Thanks, Solomon. And that was a really good intro, and it really shows that you're a really good ambassador as an AWS education ambassador. So now let's jump into the demo, and just wanted to show you what we will be building. So this will be like the app that we'll be building. Um, so with Honeycode, like Solomon mentioned, it's a mobile first approach. So whenever you build an app in Honeycode, you're actually building a web app and mobile app at the same time. You won't need to do anything, and I'll explain that a little bit later. So this will be the app that we'll be building. So for example, I can go ahead and add an event. So the use case will be student organizations can just add events. So for example, let's add an event called Intro to Amazon Honeycode. And then here, let's do 1 p.m. And then um, we can select a student organization. So for example, ACM, and then is it completed? We're gonna say no. We can click on done, and then it shows here. So it's not completed, so it's under current events. I'm gonna click finished. Now it's gonna go to completed events, so it's right here. And if I wanted to, if I made like a mistake and then I want to go back, I'm just going to click on yes, and it's going to take me back here. So this is basically fully functional app. I know the UI is not great, but I just wanted to show you what you will be building. Let's go ahead and start building it. So I'm going to click on Honeycode. You can actually build alongside me. The website is honeycode.aws, and you'll be able to create a free account. You don't need to put in your credit card information or anything like that. So after you sign in, you'll be able to see this UI and start creating. But for this workshop, if you're learning Honeycode right now, maybe you can just watch me do it, and then we'll also have recording in YouTube, so you can look over that later. Let me also look at the chat. Yeah, thank you for putting the link. So let's go ahead and create a workbook. So let's go ahead and, so like Solomon said, there are a lot of templates that we can use, but let's go ahead and create the app from scratch. So let's start from scratch, and then the workbook name, I'm just gonna call it demo workshop. You can name it anything, and this will be part of my team. Right now, no one's on my team. I'm the only one. So let's go ahead and create. Um, so basically what a workbook is everything that's needed for your app will be inside a workbook. So think of workbook like a big box, and inside the workbook we'll have apps and we'll also have data. So this is basically what they call a table, where we can input all our data. And table in Honeycode is kind of like Excel and spreadsheet, but it's much more powerful than that because it acts like a database. And I can show that over this demo, but let's go ahead and change the name to, let's say, student orgs. So in this table, I just want a list of all the student organizations. So let me go ahead and delete. I just need one column. So I'm going to call it student organizations. I'm just going to call it student orgs. And then I can just list out student organizations here. Let's do SWE, WWC, IEEE, NSB, SHIP. So I know we have a lot of amazing ECS organizations, and but I'm just gonna put the right now. I'm just gonna have like six student organizations here, but you can obviously add more by clicking here. But I'm just gonna, for the demo, I'm just gonna leave it to 7 or 6. So we have a table with student organizations, right? Let's go ahead and create another table called status. So it's really easy. You just click here and click on a blank table, and then you name it status. And if you have any questions, just put in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. But I'll try to go slow so that everyone can understand. So let's call it, let's have a column that says completed. So yes or no, this is going to be a binary table where basically an event can be either completed or not. You can't have an event that's both completed and not completed. So let's just create that table. And now I think you'll really see the power of Honeycode, because if I go ahead and create a new table, so I have a status table with yes and no, and I also have a student organization table with a list of student organizations. But now what I can do is I can get information from all those tables by just connecting them. So let me show you how to do that. Here I'm going to name the table as all info. And For this one, I need some columns. So I'm going to have a column that's event name, another column that says event time, and let's do that in Central Time. I know if you want to create different time zones, then you can go ahead and create a new table and then add that column here and connect it. But for this demo, I'm just going to have it in CST time. And then we can have the student organization, student org, and then let's have one more that says completed. Um, so here I can manually enter in the data. So for example, I can call it intro to Amazon Honeycode. And if you want to make it bigger, you can always just go here and drag it so you can see everything. And the time, let's do 1 p.m. Now here I can just type in ACM here as in student organization, but this is the power of Honeycode that I was talking about. So you can just click on it, go to formats, and then go to row link and pick list, and then select pick list. So I can select student orgs. So student orgs was the table that I created previously. So now I just connected that table with this table. So what that allows me to do is it just allows me to select a student organization. So it's really, really powerful in that way. So I can select ACM. And we can do the same thing with completed. So I can either put yes or no right here, but I can also connect it with a different table. So let me go to formats. Same thing, row link and pick list, but this time it's going to be a different table called status. And then I'm going to go ahead and say no because it hasn't been completed yet. And I don't need the extra rows. I can just delete them. And later I'll add a functionality where we can just add rows in here, which is really easy. So this is basically all the data we need. So we have 3 tables. We have data about event name, event time, student organization, and also whether the event was completed or not. So this is the tables part of Honeycode. Now we can go ahead and create an app, and I'll show you how to do that. And if you have any questions about the table portions, just let me know in the chat, and I'll be able to answer them. Let's go ahead and create an app. And obviously, Honeycode allows you to use a pre-configured templates for creating an app. But for this demo, I'm going to just create it from scratch. So build from scratch. And I'll to give a name to the app. So I'm going to call it Event Tracker. And then I think you might be kind of wondering what it means to build an app without code. I was also kind of surprised that we just have to work with Excel like spreadsheet and Google Sheets. But I was kind of thinking that building apps without code would be like really really different and really new, but it just was like Google Sheets and spreadsheets. So I was kind of underwhelmed by it, but I also saw like how powerful it was. So that was pretty good. Let me go to the app. I don't have a lot of experience in SQL, but I think it should be better than SQL because I think it's better UI and also maybe better functionality. So let's go ahead and create a name for the app. So I'm going to call it student orgs event list. So you can name it anything. And then in here, Solomon talked about how we can build mobile and web app at the same time, and I also kind of talked about it. So this is the feature. So when you build a web app, Amazon Honeycode will automatically create a mobile app for you. So you don't have to do anything to make that work. There's actually an Amazon Honeycode app in App Store in Apple, and also I think in Play Store and Google. You can download the app on your phone, and you'll be able to access the same web app that we're creating. So it's very powerful because you can create web app and mobile app at the same time. So let's go ahead and add more functionality to our app. So let me go ahead and add an object. I'm going to add a content box. So this will be a list of current events. And obviously we can give it a different color. So yellow, let's do that. Okay. And then now we want to add a column list because we want to have a column of event name, event time, student organization, and whether it was completed or not. So let's do that. Add a column list. And right now I selected the student orgs table. So it only has one column, but let's go to our all info table. So it has all the columns that we need, event name, time, student org, and whether it's completed or not. We can add a detailed screen to get more information on the data, but I'm not going to do that for the demo. I'm going to go ahead and click create. And Amazon Honeycode basically creates it like this. Let's go ahead and add a completed section as well. So let me go here and then add object, content box, and then completed events. So, and let me also add the same column list here. Go back to the all info table. So I have all the columns and go ahead and click create. So it basically created this in terms of completed events. Let me change the color here to maybe green. I'm not really good at UI design yet, so I'm sorry if the colors that I'm choosing really doesn't make sense. But here I can go ahead and view the app right now. So let me click on view. And Amazon Honeycode basically already creates this. Thank you, Niranjan, for appreciating my color choices and UI designs. But this is basically what you see. You have a list of current events and you also have a list of completed events. And if you see right now, we have the same thing in both current events and completed events. So basically the functionality is not here. We want to add that functionality where if the event completed is no, it should only be in this screen, in the current event screen. It should not be here because it's not completed yet. And if it's completed, then it should not be here. So let's add that functionality. Let me go ahead and click on here. And let's go to data. So in data, we have something called set source, where this is basically the source of data. And right now it's all information, and we don't want all information. What we want right here is a list of events that have not been completed yet. So we need to make sure that we're only pulling in that data. And to do that, we have a function called filter. So it's basically like an Excel or Google Sheets, a function formula, if you will. And then you can just type in. So let's do filter. It returns any rows that matches the filter condition. So let's go ahead and select our table. So we want to select our all info table. And our condition is in all info, if we have completed. Let me go ahead and type the formula and then I'll explain it. No. Okay. If I so I also get like a blue dot. That means that the formula is correctly inputted here. Let me go ahead and zoom in to the formula. So basically what this does is it looks at the completed column in the all info table. So basically all info has all the information. It's going to look at the completed section, completed column. And if it equals to no, then it will only select the rows that are not completed. And notice that we have two double quotes inside no. It's not just one. So that's just like a formatting thing. And then this basically gets us all the rows where events have not been completed yet. So let me go ahead and add the same thing to this section. But this time we want all the rows where the events have been completed because this is the completed section. So I'm just going to change that to yes. And if I go ahead and refresh my app from before, right now I don't see anything here because this event has not been completed yet. But if this is completed, then it will go here and I won't see anything here. So that's a good functionality we added to our app. So now let's go back and so right now we can't really interact with the app, right? So let's go ahead and try to add a button so that we can interact with it and make it better. So let's go ahead and add an object. First, I'm just going to delete it because it just says no. And I'm going to add a button right here. And I'm going to call it finished. Finished. So basically in Honeycode, there's another thing that you can do is automation. So basically, automation sounds complicated, but it actually is not. How the app will know whether the event, yes. So in terms of whether the event has been completed or not, I'm just going to show that right now, how it knows that. But that's a really good question. So if you go to actions and you go to create an automation, let me add an automation. So let's overwrite the value here. So what I want to do with the automation is whenever I click this button, I want I want this to disappear and all the information to go here, because what I'm essentially doing is when I click the finish button, I'm saying I'm done with this event. So I don't want this event in the current events list. I want this event in the completed list, right? So in order to know what events have been completed, the all info table, which is like the table with all the information, has that information in a column, right? So let's go ahead and take data from the status column. So let me go ahead and show you. So the status column has yes or no, so we know whether it's completed or not. And the all info table has also a completed column where we know if it's completed or not. Right now it's not, but we can make sure we can change this to yes. So let me show you how to change this to yes. Let me go back to my app. Let me click on it, edit automation. So I'm basically going to take the data from the status column, just equals status. Oh wait, no, let me use another function. So we have to use a function here to find a row that says yes. So what I'm trying to do at a high level is I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get no from the status column. So I'm trying to get this row no, and I'm trying to add that. Or sorry, I'm trying to get this row yes, and I'm trying to add that to the all info table. So I'm going to change that to yes from the status table, if that makes sense. So let me go back to the app and in the automation. So let me get that yes row from the status column. So equals find row. That's the function we're going to use, and it returns the first row that matches the condition. And then I'm going to select the status column. And then let me go ahead and add a condition. So if the status completed is equal to yes. And let me also add it here, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing, in just a bit. All info completed. So we get 2 dots here, so that means our formula worked. Let's talk about this. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to the status column, and if it's equal to yes, I'm getting that row. So I'm basically getting the yes row from here. And then I'm gonna write yes to the completed section. So that way, right now it's not completed, but I'm gonna change this completed to yes so that it's completed, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and see what it does here. If I click on finished, it's going to put it here because it got completed. We got yes from the completed status, from the status column, and then we uploaded it here. So now it looks completed. But what if we made a mistake and we wanted to not say completed? So let's add that functionality where if we made a mistake, we can just click on it and it goes back here. And it's the same thing, exact same thing. We're just changing small things along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to add a button. Let me say yes. And maybe first we can change the color to something else as to orange. And then in here, we can basically do the same thing. We can create an automation where we override a value, just like we did last time. And then we can go here and we can do find row. And then we can find the status column, status table. And then in that column, status completed equals. So we want to get the row that says no, and we want to change the column with all the data. So now what we're doing is we're gonna make sure that the completed says no. So if we go back here, if we click on yes, then it's gonna go back because now the completed got changed to no, and it's back here. And if I click on finished, it goes to yes and it's back here. Let me see. No problem. Yep, that's the functionality we have. So right now you may be thinking that this is pretty good, but how can we actually add events? Because we don't want people to go to the table and add events manually. That's a good question, and there's a really easy way to do it. And I'm gonna wrap it up pretty soon, so we can go ahead and create something called a form object. So form is right here. I'm gonna click on it. And I want the form in a different screen. I can also put it in the same screen, but I want it in a different screen. And I'm gonna get the data from all information. So all the columns, and go ahead and click create. It creates it at the end, but I want it at the all the way to the top. So I'm just gonna drag it here, drag it all the way to the top. And I'm actually gonna put it in to the right. So right now we see that there is an add all info column. Let's change the name to um, add an event. So basically, when I added this, it created a form automatically, which I can use. So what it's doing in this form, what it's basically putting all the information that the user puts into the respective columns. So whenever I put in my event name, it's going to put it in the event name column, and then whenever I put in the time, it's going to put it here, and whenever I put in the student organization, it's going to put it here. And if I look at the done button and select the automation, you can basically see this, right? So whenever the thing that the user puts in will be written to event name, time will be written to event time, and things like that. So this is basically the automation that they created. Let me change the name to add an event. So if I go back to my app and if I click on add an event, it's going to take me to a new screen. Let me add an event. So let me add an event called ECS Gala, and this will be in person. Hopefully next fall will be in person. So I'm just gonna say in person. Let's do 7 p.m. Central Time. And let's say Sui is hosting this event. And let's say completed to no. And click done. So now you have an event right here that we just created. And if so this event is already done. So it's got finished and this is done here. So if we want to later on after the event has been completed, we can click on finished and then it will show here. But if we wanted to, if this is not finished, we can click on yes and it will go back here. So that is, do you know if it's possible to change the background color? I think it should be possible to change the background color. Let me try doing that. Fill color. So let me change it to yellow. So I just changed the background color of the app or the add an event section, so you can see that the background color just changed. So that is pretty much all I wanted to show. You can see that this is really this is the functional app that you're creating, and it has the functionality. The UI is not necessarily the best, but you can see that how you can build an app from scratch without having to write any line of code, and make sure that the functionality works. So I think that's why Honeycode is a really powerful tool. And you guys should take advantage of it. It's free, and just go to honeycode.aws and make an account, and you can just make the same app that I created or something else that you want to create. So that's pretty much all it. Any questions for the demo before I pass it on to Rakshita? That gives a notification. That's a very good question. So yes, you can definitely create an app that gives a notification to different people regarding events. I think that's why that's one of the reasons why Amazon Honeycode was created. So this project is basically for a specific use case. So it allows a specific team to build apps and notify people. So if you look here, you can share an app with your team, and then you can add people to your team, and everyone in your team will be able to access the app, and in that way you can notify people. In terms of APIs, yes, you can use APIs with Honeycode. You can use AWS APIs, but I think it's difficult to configure it right now. Especially, it's not it's in beta process right now, so it's not completed yet. But there is a way you can use APIs with Honeycode. It should be documented in AWS Honeycode documentation. Yep. So now I'm gonna pass it on to Rakshita um, to give a demo on the Amazon Honeycode winning hackathon product.
Thank you, Sakshan. That was a great demo. Very well done. Yeah, so I will show you guys the app that we built as a part of the Amazon Honeycode Hackathon. Just to give you a little bit of a context here, the Honeycode team worked with student ambassadors to form a focus group of sorts. So, and as a part of this focus group, Saksham and I both were a part of this focus group, and we helped them organize a hackathon for all the student ambassadors. So the team could sort of play around with the new service that they were launching, which is still in beta version, that as Saksham mentioned. And, we got to like work with this new service, play around with it, give feedback based on what's working, what's not. So that was a really cool experience. And Saksham, I think you'll have to stop sharing your screen so I can share.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Yeah, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, as part of this hackathon, all the student ambassadors formed like teams of 2 or 3 and built various apps to test out various use cases where this no-code service can be used. And my team and I worked on this idea called Meal Inventory Manager. And the team comprised of me, Todd Rowley, and Sakib Rahman. And our idea was basically, we got the inspiration for our idea from this particular problem statement, which is that purchasing food, maintaining inventory, planning and preparing meals, which is a daily routine for all of us. It can be cumbersome and hard to like manage. The process itself is a continuum and not a set of discrete events, but all the existing solutions we have only give fragmented solution to each part of the problem and not as a whole. This leads to our solution, which incorporates a more holistic approach through an app that takes into account each step of this process that includes meal planning, meal preparation, health considerations, and inventory management. So finally, we built an app that includes the following features. It helps plan menus for homeowners and small family-owned restaurants, automates inventory management based on planned and prepared meals, and monitors the daily calorie intake based on the meals that have been prepared. And it also assists with the preparation of a shopping list given the current inventory levels. So let me take you to, oh, sorry. This control is annoying. Yeah. So this is the app. This is the landing page of the app where you can see a menu of sorts, which lists all the meals that you have listed down or plan to prepare. These are just like some sample meals that we just added. So you have mac and cheese, eggs and bacon, salad, and another section also lists like the meals that you've already prepared and also the calories consumed because of the meal that you prepared. Now, if you click on each meal, it takes you to a more detailed page where it basically gives you details on the meal. That's the name and the ingredients that you'll need. You can also include things like instructions as a part of this page, but we just since this was just a demo app, we just limited it to this particular feature where you have ingredients. And the way we modeled our data for this whole ingredient and ingredients used in preparing this meal is we use something called a usage quantity. This is just to like forego the complexity that different units are introduced. So we just go with something called usage quantity, where each usage quantity based on your knowledge corresponds to the unit of measurement of that particular ingredient. So if it's a pasta, it can be like ounces, or if it's cheese, it can be ounces. If it's water, it can be liters, depending on what you use. So let's say mac and cheese includes three usage quantity of pasta and 4 usage quantity of cheese. Let's say you want to prepare, and okay, this is taking a second. And if you go here, it's added to the list of meals to be prepared. So just to be sure, it also asks whether you've already prepared it or not. Let's say if you say yes. Okay, internet is slow today. It's adding to the list. Let me just refresh that. Yeah, so you can see that it's turned to yes, and calories consumed increased to 800. Now, if I go to my inventory, it kind of lists like all the items you have in your inventory, how many units of these inventory items you have, and the status in which they're in right now. So, for instance, like anything 10 and above is like in the safe zone, so you don't see it highlighted. But anything less than 10 is in the, well, not danger zone, but sort of like, about to uh, go very low in numbers. So that's sort of highlighted in yellow, and ones which are running really low are highlighted in red. And since we said it also automates the preparation of shopping cart, it automatically adds items which are in red to the shopping cart. So as you can see in the inventory, pasta and cheese are in red. So the shopping cart is already added those items. Now, if you go back, let's say, you're planning to prepare bacon, so you want more of it, you can just add it and go to the shopping cart, it's added bacon. And once you're done shopping, you can say, let's say I shopped for cheese and I'm done with it. It removes it from the shopping cart. And if you go back to inventory, you can see that the quantity of cheese has been added and it's no more in the danger zone. So this is how we try to sort of centralize the entire process of meal inventory planning and management. And yeah, it was a very cool experience. And this was the app. And as for the backend, I basically used most of the controls that Saksham already demonstrated. These are the views. This is how we designed the landing page. This is the detail page, shopping cart. We added automation to ensure that when you say done, it increases the inventory and removes it from this table. This is the inventory table where add to cart again has its own automation. So yeah, I mean, this is basically very simple to build. If I was already used to this interface, I would have probably taken like 2, at max 3 hours. Um, for me, the bigger challenge was I was not used to writing Excel-like commands, so that was something that I had to get used to. But otherwise, for people who are used to Excel, this should be very simple. And this kind of application is specifically useful for teams which don't have like web developers, but manage their internal processes through workbooks. And if they want to use it to automate some of their processes or like control what each user can see or send notifications, is a great application to quickly build a web app or a mobile app on top of their existing workflow based out of workbooks. Yeah, so that was all.
There's also a question in the chat about like the default
Oh
quantity.
yeah, sorry, I couldn't see that. Yes, by default it's 10 again, because this was like a hackathon app done in a time crunch. We kind of simplified a lot of process. We can definitely do a lot more. In fact, hold on. I can show you some of the other ideas we had. Like for instance, we already have some of the capabilities are already present. For instance, we want to integrate this. We can also integrate this with like external shopping applications. Since there is an API present, we can port the shopping list and automatically add it to like your Whole Foods shopping cart or through Alexa or Amazon Fresh. So this is something we're excited to continue working on in the future iterations. Yeah, and the other advantage with Honeycode is that this is not something we have tested thoroughly, but like you can literally upload your existing workbook and build an app on top of it. So you don't even have to create tables from scratch if you already have it. So they have sort of built a lot of functionality to like it's already been mentioned, to sort of reduce the friction when it comes to moving to this service. Let's see, any other? Yeah, that's.
Do we have any other questions in the chat? Feel free to just ask any questions you have.
And I think one other thing that I'd like to add is the wide variety of templates that you can pull in from. So as you saw in the two demos today, a lot of the data that was added as well as the functionality was from scratch. But if you go to the link that I posted in the chat, that's honeycode.aws/templates, you can see the wide variety of templates that are already pre-built. And of course, that there's, since Honeycode was launched last summer, they're developing a community and a community forum around users of Honeycode. So it's an interesting way to build on both templates, but also having that customizability of building and being able to upload your raw data and create everything from scratch as well.
Absolutely. And adding on to that, I think we just saw like how powerful Honeycode can be, because you can create apps that have like specific use cases. So for example, my app was about adding events for student organizations, and Rakshita had a different complicated app. She said she can do it in 2 hours. It will probably take me 2 months to do it. It's really, really complicated. And this was the winning product in the Amazon Honeycode hackathon. So we had like 275 student ambassadors who had the opportunity to submit an app, and they were able to win it. So it's very, very you can do a lot of complicated and interesting things with Honeycode.
Yes, you will be able to integrate it with an API, but the API itself is not complete right now because it's still in the beta version. So once that has been completely incorporated into the app, I think it's going to be even more powerful than it already is. But we already have functionalities, like inbuilt functionalities, like sending emails as notifications. So that level of API is inbuilt. And there is an API which you can use your standard, if you use Python, you can use Boto3 and use the Honeycode API from within that. So that's there. But since it's still in the beta version, it's not guaranteed that every single use case you might have will be already built with it.
Any other questions? If you don't have any questions, I'm actually going to put in the check-in link again, so you can just check into this and sign up so that you get credit for coming. And you can just use any account you have. And also for all the people who joined, we can give out an AWS Educate certificate that we have. So as AWS Educate student ambassadors, we can send it out to you, and make sure that you RSVP'd to the workshop so that we can find your email and we can send it to you. But thank you so much for coming. If you don't have any questions, feel free to leave. But I just wanted to also thank Rakshita and Solomon for doing this. I know we wanted to do this last summer, and it's been a lot of planning, and I'm so happy that we're finally able to do it. And thank you so much for working on it. And Solomon took the initiative to make sure that we will do an event, and after that we joined, and it was really nice to work with everyone, and really, really happy that we did it together. All right, I think we can go ahead and end the meeting.